In this video, I'm going to show you the most efficient dumbbell-only push-pull routine. We're going to learn the difference between your pushing motions and your pulling motions, and I'm actually going to give you a whole body routine to help you get in shape just like your favorite heroes. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more content like this. And without further ado, let's jump into the routine. All right, so we're going to be starting with your pushing motions. So this is going to be exercises in which we're pushing the force away from you. You can also think about this as working on the muscles that are kind of on the front half of the body, with the exception of the triceps. So think about your presses, like your bench press, your overhead press. Even with the lower half of your body, we're going to be doing things like squats because that works on the front half of the body. Now, a lot of people actually make the distinguishment between push-pull and lower. So that's a really common split that you'll see in kind of the bodybuilding realm: push, pull, lower, off day, and then repeat, something like that. But in this video, I want to talk about push in terms of the entirety of the body: upper push, lower push, and then pull as well: upper pull, lower pull. I like to think of the muscles of the body in 4 quadrants. And so that looks like upper body, lower body, push, pull. So if we're working those 4 quadrants out, we pretty much are targeting everything that we need. So without further ado, let's jump into our first pushing motion. All right, so the first exercise up is known as the dumbbell squats. I know, people always talk about squats, but that's for a good reason. That's because squats are awesome. They work across multiple joints. They work so many different muscles out, and here's how to do them with a dumbbell. Now, first of all, you can get a couple of dumbbells and you can hold it like this, but I actually like to hold it close to the chest, just like this. This is called a goblet squat. So now you could do it where it's just body weight right here like this. I like to do it where my feet are propped up on something. Here I've got a couple of fives. If you're at home or somewhere where you don't have plates like this, you can totally put like books or something like that, where it's just like an inch, half inch, something like that, just to prop up your heels. And what that will do is help you go down even further than you typically could. Now from here, I have my feet about hip to shoulder width apart, right? So I'll kind of turn it around so you can kind of see that. So about hip to shoulder width apart, just depends on you and what's most comfortable for you. I have my feet going slightly out, so they're not pointed forward, they're slightly pointed out. And now from here, my knees are actually going to track in the same direction as the toes as I go down. And it's an old myth that your knees shouldn't go out over your toes. They actually should go out over your toes if you have those kind of limb lengths. I don't know if my legs are long enough to do that, but that's what you want to think about. You want to think about your knees pushing out over those toes. So what an actual goblet dumbbell squat would look like is something like this. So I have that close to me. My first movement is my hips kind of untuck. So they're tucked in right here. I untuck them, and then I start to bend at the knees. So a full squat would look something like this. And notice I'm going down literally as low as I can. I'm not stopping right there. I'm going all the way down. I'm sitting into it. I literally can't go lower than that. And that's how you want to do it, to where you get a really good stretch in those quads and those glutes. And notice I'm not rounding or anything like that. My chest is up, and I have start with like a good arch in my back. If you want to, just a neutral spine works really well. So just like this. So this is how you do the dumbbell goblet squat for maximum efficiency. That's why it's one of the best, because it hits all those muscle groups, and it's a really great exercise. So now let's move into our next one. Okay, so our next exercise is one of my absolute favorites for an upper pushing motion, which works out your chest, your shoulders, your triceps. It's really great for really just building that muscularity in the upper body, and that is known as the dumbbell bench press. Some people just call it a dumbbell press in general, so I'm going to call it a dumbbell bench press. And so what it looks like is you're going to sit on a bench just flat back like that. Now you could do an incline, you could do a decline as well, but from here I like to have the dumbbells on the knees, and then I kind of rock back kind of one at a time, and I catch myself right here. You could also have someone give them to you if you have that. If you have someone to help you out, a spotter or something like that, that works too. But from here, what you'll notice is my elbows aren't out and they're not tucked in. They're somewhere in between. And the dumbbells are facing the same direction as my upper arm is, so kind of diagonal. Now from there, you'll notice I have a good arch in my back. I'm not flat, I have a good arch. I have my feet up under me. As long as they're touching the floor, that works. You can have them flat on the floor as well, but I like them just kind of like on my toes right there. Now from here, I can already feel a really good stretch in the chest. and I have my dumbbells down and out. Now I'm gonna go up and in, and I get them close together right there. And then I just repeat that. Now, as I come down, I get a really good stretch, going down as far as I can. I'm not stopping too early. You can go down below 90 and then come back up for a good squeeze and then back down. So a few reps looks something like this. So that is the dumbbell bench press. Now up next, what we'll do is another great pushing exercise for the upper body known as the dumbbell seated overhead press. And what that looks like is all you have to do is raise your bench up. Now, it's totally fine if you don't have an adjustable bench. You could just feel free to do this like on a normal chair, just something that's pretty much straight up and down or at a slight angle. I find that to be just slightly more comfortable. Now from there, what you're going to do is sit down right here, have these dumbbells right here. And I'm going to have my back up against the back of the chair or the bench. And then I'm going to bring these up to right here. Now, this is a great exercise for upper chest development and shoulder development and triceps. So we're hitting all around the pushing muscles of the upper body with these two exercises that we're doing. So from here, same thing. My elbows aren't out. They're kind of slightly tucked in, but not too tucked in, because when you go too tucked in, you're kind of starting to work the triceps a little bit more. So from here, I'm pushing up just like that. I'm coming down and out, same thing. Up and in, dumbbells are getting close together at the top, just like that. And you want to go down as far as you can. You should feel a good stretch kind of in the shoulders right there. And then up and in, just like that. So that's how you're going to hit those upper body pushing muscles. All right. So now let's change it up a little bit and go into our next exercises. Okay, so those were all of the pushing muscles. Now we're gonna talk about pulling muscles. So technically every muscle pulls, because the muscles actually, when they contract, they are pulling together. So actually no muscles technically push. So these are the muscles though, in terms of the movement, where we're pulling a weight towards us. So think about if the force is out here, we're pulling it towards us in terms of upper body. That could look like a pull down, a row. It could be something like, if we're talking lower body, if we're doing like a RDL, a deadlift, or something like that. Also, just like I mentioned with the pushing exercises, those are mostly going to be on the front half of your body. Well, the pulling exercises, as you guessed, are going to be on the back half of the body. So think about your back, your hamstrings, your glutes, the whole posterior chain, everything like that. Now, the only exception of that would be your biceps. They're kind of technically on the front half of your body, right? But they pull everything in. They help on all the pulling motions. So that's the only exception. Other than that, just think about pulling as the back half of your body. So let's jump into that first pulling motion. All right, so now we're going to move into a couple of exercises that really work on the pulling motion of the body, or like I said, the back half of the body or so. So the first one's going to be the dumbbell RDL, also known as the dumbbell Romanian deadlift. So this is going to be really good for hitting the hamstrings, glutes, and back. Just like with the squat, we want to start with a good power position with your feet about hip to shoulder width apart, knees slightly going, just slightly bent and slightly out, kind of in the same direction as the toes. Notice the toes are not straight forward. They're slightly pointed out just like that. Now, that's your foundation. From there, I have the dumbbells in front of me. I'm really straight up and tall. I have my chest up. I have my butt tucked in to start. And then from there, all I'm going to do is untuck my hips and push my butt back as far as I can. Now, as I do that, the dumbbells stay next to my body and I drag them down my legs, and I can already feel a stretch behind my knees in those hamstrings. I'm gonna go down as far as I can while maintaining a neutral back and then come back up. So this is the exercise. Just like that. I go down slow and controlled, and I get a little slower as I get down past the knees just because of flexibility and everything. And then I come up faster. So think of it kind of like a stretch. This is actually a really unique exercise because you're mostly working on the eccentric portion as you're stretching out the muscle. Whereas on like a lot of pulling things like your presses and stuff like that, you're really emphasizing that concentric phase where you're pressing on the lifting portion. On this one, we're emphasizing more of the stretching phase on the way down, and then you can kind of just come up like that. So this is one of my favorite exercises for really hitting that posterior chain. Now up next, we're gonna do something that's really efficient, known as the bent over row with dumbbells. Now, you've probably seen or tried like a single arm dumbbell row. Well, this is gonna be a version where we do both arms at the same time. And if you do it in this order where you'd start with the RDLs and then go here, you're already going to be in your initial starting position. And what I mean by that is like you get in an RDL stance, you go down like you're doing an RDL, and this is your starting position. Now from here, what I'm going to do is row it up, squeeze the back, and then go down. Now when I come down on this one, I don't mind actually if you round just slightly and you push your arms forward. The reason is because when you do this motion right here, you're working on more of the back musculature, the erector spinae muscles, and you can target even more of the back by doing that. A couple of reps right here would look something like this. And at the top, I can feel a good squeeze. At the bottom, I go down just like that. That is a great back exercise for really hitting that upper back. Now you'll actually notice, I don't know if you caught this or not, but on the way down, my hands are twisted this way, but on the way up, I kind of just naturally twist them more like I have a hammer. So that's because it's just more natural for me that way. But really, it's ultimately up to you which way you want to hold them. You could hold them like a hammer the whole time. You could hold them this way the whole time. I just find that more natural flow works better for me. All right, so that was some pushing motions, some pulling motions. Now we want to work on some of the auxiliary muscles, starting with the shoulders. All right, so this next exercise is known as the dumbbell incline lateral raise. Now, why are we doing it on an incline? The reason is because whenever you do this standing up, you can't get as good of a stretch at the bottom as you can on the way down with this one, because you can actually go a little bit behind you on this incline. And not only that, but whenever you're standing up doing a lateral raise, you can use a lot of body momentum to really help you out. So right here, no body momentum because we're really stable sitting down like this, and we get a better stretch. So those are the two reasons. Now from here, what it's gonna look like is I'm in a good position where my chest is up and my arms are just down at my side. And from there, I'm gonna raise it up just like that and then back down. Now you'll notice I actually twist the dumbbells as I come up. So it looks something like this. I'm kind of twisting my pinkies more towards the ceiling, or like I've got like a pitcher of water or something that I'm kind of pouring just a little bit. You'll notice the dumbbells are in front of me slightly too when I raise it up. They're not too far beside me. That's because it just feels a little bit better on my shoulders by just coming up slightly in front of me, making almost like a Y shape, just like this, instead of back here. So right there feels really, really good. And I get that good stretch at the bottom right there as they come behind me. Get squeeze at the top. So a few reps looks like this. And I can really feel that targeted on those delts, those side delts specifically. So if you've never tried these before, make sure to give them a shot. And I think they'll be one of your new favorite exercises for those delts. All right, so the last exercise to really round out a really good full body routine with a dumbbell is known as the dumbbell crunch. So we've hit kind of push, pull exercises, auxiliaries, but the next one that we really need to hit is the core. And one of my favorite core exercises is simply just the crunch. Now, a lot of people do these incorrectly, and that's why a lot of people don't like them so much. So if you do them right, I guarantee you're gonna feel your abs burn like you never have before. Now, if you have something like an ab little mat like this right here, a little pad to help you just to kind of arch over it and get a good stretch on your abs, definitely make sure you use one of these. If you don't, I've got news for you. You can totally use something like a pillow or a blanket and just kind of have it to where it's just, just under your back right there, a little bit of the lower slash mid torso or so. Now from there, everything else is going to be pretty much the same. So I'll do it without a dumbbell first so you can kind of see what it looks like. I have that down there. My back rounds over top of it, and I can feel it just really stretch. Now, on a normal crunch, you don't really get a lot of stretch in your abs because you just stop right here. But we really want to emphasize the stretch here. So we go all the way back. Look at that range of motion. That's way more range of motion than if I were to just stop right here. Now, so what that looks like with an actual just crunch is something like this. Just coming up to here and then down. You can see there's so much more range of motion there than if I were to do it on the ground. Now, you could keep going up like here to do a full sit-up. So we want to just stay focused on the abs. Now, the way you would do that with a dumbbell, there's 3 ways. I'll go from easiest to hardest. First way, you keep the dumbbell right here under your chin, right next to your body where your chest is. And you go up just like this. And now whenever you go up, I always like to breathe out and then in. And I really feel that more in my abs when I do that. That's the easiest way. The middle way is to have the dumbbell up like this and have your arms straight up towards the ceiling. And it's almost like you're trying to reach and touch the sky. So you don't want to like do this with your arms. You want to reach and touch the sky. So it looks something like this. See the difference between that and this? When I do that, that actually helps me. The momentum with the dumbbell helps me get up, so I'm not working my abs so much. Whereas this is almost all ab work right there, and I can feel that. Now, I just wore myself out, which was not a great idea, but I'm going to show you the hardest way to do this, which is to actually not have it in front of you or over top of you, but to have it behind your head. So it looks something like this. So if you're more advanced, you could do it this way. Behind your head, everything's locked in right here. I go down, I come up just like that. And I can really feel those abs working. If you wanted to, you could have it back like that. But for now, this works just fine. And just with those few crunches that I showed you for this tutorial, I can feel my abs working really well. So that was a great little ab routine I had there. I encourage you to try it out yourself as well. All right, so that was the most efficient dumbbell push-pull routine with added auxiliary exercises in there to help you look like your favorite superheroes. This hits every quadrant of the body, it hits all the major muscle groups. So I hope you found some benefit out of this. Which exercise was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. And hey, if you want a free core training guide, also check that out in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.